Well, hello, and welcome again to the 2012fad.com. I will be your host for this evening, and my name is Charlie Bluehawk. Last night we talked about the gift that keeps on giving, and of course, that gift is the gift of hatred. I've seen with my own eyes what hate does to the innocent, the helpless, the hopeless, the defenseless. That's what I was as a small child. It was what was done to me. Gang rape, beatings, broken bones, and my soul just shattered. And it was all part of the standard CIA project to create slaves. And not simply to create slaves, but to learn how to hurt human beings more effectively. I saw it again the other day, besides, seeing it in Washington, D.C., or London, England, or Israel. It's something that I never again wanted ever to see with my own eyes. Two little girls, two bright, beautiful, smart little children being tormented, tortured, abused, and beaten by their own mother, a drunk. Something so stupid and useless as truly has no place in our world. One of those truly useless things that exist here with us. And it's something that we can't even blame our masters for. This stupid, drunken old woman, this waste of skin. She's a good example of the 98% of the human race that is cattle. And to be blunt, just too stupid, too useless, too arrogant, and too mean even to bother with. But she does have something of infinite value, and she knows it. It's not her. It's her two beautiful little daughters, her little children. And this evil, stupid, drunken creature will hold on to both of them like death, her claws sunk into each of them, until finally death will come for her. The truth is, she does this because she can. Because in her mind, even the mind of a drunk or a drug addict, she is more important than these little children. She's more important than everyone. That's her excuse for drinking and using drugs. She is important, the rest of us are not. And because whatever God there is gave her these two bright, beautiful, precious little souls, gave them into her keeping, she feels the right she can do anything she wants to them. And so of her own free will, she abuses them, she tortures them, she terrifies them. She tortures them again. And like all truly arrogant, truly stupid people, stupid cattle, this foul old drunk, she thinks that no one can see her screaming at these two terrified little children, that no one else is in the same room with her as she reduces them into terrified tears. I grew up with this. The arrogant exist only for themselves, and they live in their own little world. And this old drunk, she considers, whether she's drunk or sober, that nobody standing in the same room with her will notice as she abuses these two little innocent girls. The only thing this old hateful drunk does know, this waste of skin, is what all creatures like her know. She has to pass along the gift of hatred to them. Because hate is the only gift that she has to give to this world. And unless one or both of these bright, beautiful little girls takes that gift of hatred from her, the gift that keeps on giving, her miserable, mean, useless life has no meaning. And it's useless because she chooses it to be that way. She's nothing because she chooses to be that way. This is her own choice. I grew up just as these two little beautiful girls are growing up now. And I saw this over and over the last couple of months, and I just want to vomit. It's bad enough that our masters treat us this way. But the fact that 98% of the human race is no better than our masters, then why are we even bothering? See, our masters, they don't just want us dead, they want us in horror. They want us in horror to the point that when we die, finally, we think we'll be freed. No, that's not the goal of our masters. The goal of our masters is that we die in such horrible torment that we take that pain back to the real world with us. Our masters want to destroy us, not just now, but forever. You and I create the universe around us with our thoughts. It's not religion, it's science, it's physics. So if our masters manage to shred our souls, they'll shred the universe around us. I remember very clearly in the pain-induced haze that I've spent most of my time here in. I was living out in the desert, trying to survive, trying to work with this family on their big real estate projects, which they eventually cheated me out of my share of. I remember I was in such pain. It felt like someone was taking a shovel and trying to dig their way through my guts with it. And I thought if I killed myself right there and then, I realized something. Because if I did kill myself right there and then, if I had died right there and then, I would not have been freed of the pain. If I had died at that moment, I would have taken that pain back with me to the real world, whatever it is. And I would never be free of it. I knew that. One of the things we need to do is we need to remember that we have value. And the greatest power I ever discovered I had was the ability to say no. It's also the hardest lesson I ever learned. No. No, you will not hurt me. No, you will not cheat me. No, you will not lie to me. No, you will not rob me. All criminals, all gangsters, all thugs, all bullies, which are all cowards anyway, and our masters are in this list, always blame the victim. They've set up our society to blame the victim. Oh, you shouldn't have been there. That's why you were shot. Oh, you shouldn't have been wearing that dress. That's why you were raped. Oh, you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been there. It's your fault. No, it's not. Never be ashamed by what was done to you. It's another thing I learned in New Zealand after being lured to New Zealand, as many, many thousands, tens of thousands of other professional people were lured to New Zealand. We get there and we can't find work. We get there and we're abused. We get there and we're tortured by the New Zealanders. And since we're new in town, we figure, yeah, it must be our fault. We must be doing something wrong. And the New Zealanders push that for all it's worth. It wasn't until I started talking to other foreigners who I had been avoiding because, I wanted to be a New Zealander. So, I wanted to join the family that I had been invited to join. But I showed up at the doorstep one day and they looked at me and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I finally started, amongst numerous shocks I finally started to realize I needed to talk to other foreigners, and it became a habit with other foreigners that just developed all by itself. Instead of saying, "Hi, how are you? How's your day going?" when we met each other as a greeting, the very first thing that foreigners would say to one another is, "You did nothing wrong." That was our greeting, and it just spontaneously started happening. We'd meet each other, either someone we knew or someone just being introduced to us. The first thing we would say to them is not hello. The first thing that we would say to each other is, "You did nothing wrong." New Zealand is a great blame the victim culture. The next thing I learned to say was, I listen to what you say, I watch what you do. Because again, criminals count on the fact that they can tell you they're going to do something, then do something totally different, and then come back and convince you that, no, that never happened. But if you listen to what they say and watch what they do, that scares them out of their minds. And frankly, at this point, again, something we got to give up doing. Excuse me. We have to stop giving them or caring about what we call them or they call themselves. It doesn't matter what they call themselves. It doesn't matter what we call them. We can call them reptilians, we can call them aliens, we can call them the New World Order, we can call them the Mandarin class, we can call them the Olympians, we can call them the Committee of 300, we can call them Nazis. It doesn't matter what they call themselves, and it doesn't matter what we call them. What matters is what they do. What matters is how they hate us. What matters is they do not just want us dead. They do not want just you and I dead. They want us in terror. They want us in torment. They want us crushed. They want us destroyed. And not just destroyed. They want our souls shredded. They want our souls raped out of our bodies, twisted and ripped and torn night after night, which is again something I experienced when I got here to Europe and met my soulmate. She and her girlfriend made certain that my soul was raped out of my body every single night and torment like I didn't think was possible. But I begin to understand more and more because, silly me, I keep asking questions. I keep trying to make things make sense. But our masters want us to die, and to do this, they need to first terrorize and torment us. They have to fill our lives with horror. So our lives are nothing but pain. And they want us to take that pain back to the real world, whatever the real world is. They want us to live this life in pain and numbing fear and torture and then take it back into the next world with us. They want us, not just today, but tomorrow and forever. They want us to be in pieces on the floor, screaming. I know because this is what they did to me. I know this because this is what they wanted from me. They wanted this from me, and they wanted from all the others that they tormented, the children, the artificial children they created. I now understand why they tortured us. They didn't want slaves. We were laboratory experiments. They, our masters, wanted to know how best to destroy the human soul, to twist and rip and tear and gut us, so that we would take that terror back into the real world with us when we go, thinking that, oh, I'm dying, thank God this is over. No, that's not the master's goal. They want us to take that horror with us back into wherever we came from, that gift that keeps on giving, hatred. And they want it to be a part of us until time ends. They want to change the universe, not just by hating us, but by us hating them in return. So remember that the next time you look away, the next time you choose not to see, the next time you pull your covers up over your head in bed so you cannot see the monster under the bed. Because I'll tell you something, there really is a monster under the bed. And pulling the covers up over your head is not going to stop it. And so tonight, I thought we might chat about damaged goods. And since our masters have been practicing on the innocent, the unborn children, that they actually place into the bodies of women who are not our mothers, placing us in families that will torment us, hurt us, break our bones, rape our minds and our bodies, and tear our souls to bits, and had been doing this apparently for hundreds, if not thousands of years, refining their art. The art of hatred, the art of horror, the art of damaging us. And I'm pretty much guessing you and I are nearing the end result of that experiment. Because the techniques that our masters used against me and all the other artificial children that I've met, they're using those same techniques against the entire world now. They poison our bodies so we cannot think. Food additives, food flavorings, food colorings, food fillers. They put these in our food at the grocery store with only one purpose: to make our bodies sick and bloated. Knowing full well that these are poisons, knowing full well that these poisons will leach, will seep into our brains, and keeping us drugged and confused and mystified, basically drugged out of our minds, from the foods that we get from the neighborhood grocery store. This is why they've gone to that extra step. They've actually, in the United States, they've actually outlawed us growing our own food or sharing it or selling it with our neighbors. Things we've done throughout history. It's why our masters have passed laws stating that we are not entitled, under the law, to have clean, healthy, nutritious food. Because just imagine if your body wasn't filled with poison. Just imagine all of a sudden a veil, as it did with me several times, a veil of icky, gooey, green, globbish garbage lifted in front of your eyes, like the curtain in a theater going up. And all of a sudden you saw the world clearly. You actually not only saw the world clearly, you actually listened to what people said around you. You watched what they did and you thought to yourself, oh my God, how is any of this possible? Because our master's greatest fear is that we will see them instantly for what they really are. Nothing. At best, they're parasites. But in true fact, they are nothing. We are being tortured by nothing. We're being terrorized by nothing. We're being ruled by nothing. It's also why our masters deliberately started to stop educating us 100 years ago. They selected not to educate us. And this began 100 years ago. Without knowing the past, we have no foundation to build a future. That sounds very artsy-fartsy, so let's instead say, it's like you woke up one day, you find that you're 30 years old, but you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. You don't know how you got here. You don't know where you are. You don't know where you've been. You don't know what you can do. You don't know where you came from. You don't know if you have a family. Do you have friends? You don't know. You just woke up one day. And you don't know anything. How can you plan a future if you don't have a past? The truth is, well, you and I, we wake up every day, and these are the questions we should be asking. And why should we be asking? You say, why? Well, because the truth is, you and I do not know who we are. You and I do not know where we came from. You and I don't know our history. We don't know what's happened before us. We just don't know. If you think about it, do you know your grandfather's name? Do you know your grandmother's name? Do you know their grandfather's name? Do you know where they lived? Do you know what they did for a living? The answer is you don't. You don't have a clue. You don't know who you are because you don't know where you've come from. And that goes for your family, your city, your country, your world. You don't know who you are because you don't know where you come from. And you and I, we wake up every day, and every day we still don't know who we are. And as I put the pieces of this puzzle together, and I think it through and I try to reason it out, it gets back to their black magic ritual dates. 9/11, big date in black magic ritual. They've got other dates. It's the only one I know off the top of my head. And yes, 2012. That's a big date in the black magic Bible, if you will. Why? I have no idea. I can't balance my checkbook, let alone figure out the mathematics of the universe. But I do know right now that the solar system where you and I live, the world that you and I live on, is right now surrounded by cosmic junk. Excuse me. Right now, in our solar system, it's a junkyard. There's junk everywhere. Bits of rock right now are falling on us all over this planet. All you and I know about this, the only thing that we can discern from these rocks falling out of the sky, is all over the world where people are hearing these tremendous booming noises. Something's exploding up in the sky. They can't see anything, but they can hear it. And those booming noises are sounds that rocks make when they fall out of the sky, hit our atmosphere. They're moving so fast, they explode. They get so hot. They don't have any other choice. They're rocks. The problem is, very soon these little pieces of rock that have been falling into our atmosphere and exploding way, way high up, they're going to be followed by bigger pieces of rock. And then they're going to be followed by asteroids, which are really big pieces of rock. When these asteroids start falling on us, they're going to become meteoroids. And these things are rocks, basically the size of football fields, falling out of the sky. And they're going to be too big to burn up in our atmosphere. They're going to be too big to go boom way, way up in the sky where they can't hurt us. These are going to be too big to just go away. And when they're that big, they're going to burst into flames, and in flames, they're going to hit the surface of our planet, where you and I live. Now after that, behind the little bits of rock are bigger pieces of rock, and behind the bigger pieces of rock are planets. 3 planets and a dead sun are passing right now through the plane of our solar system between us and our sun. Now our masters worship Satan, the devil, Yahweh. And it does not matter if the devil exists. It doesn't matter. This isn't religion for you and me. But our masters, it is religion. It's a belief. Our masters have built their entire lives around the belief that Satan, Yahweh, the devil, does exist. And they've been hurting their own children, generation after generation, for at least 8,000 years. So the gift that keeps on giving, the masters give it to their own children. So after 8,000 years of nothing but hatred, based in black magic ritual, it's unlikely that you and I can have a meeting of the minds with our masters. Our agony is their ecstasy. Again, sort of artsy-fartsy, but it gets the point across. They enjoy seeing us suffer. When we suffer, they're having a ball. Our suffering, our torment, our agony, our pain is like ice cream and cake to our masters. And who wants to give up their ice cream and cake? Our masters have built their entire lives, generation after generation, around the belief that the devil exists. Their devil, their god, Satan, Yahweh, they believe she's real. And their black magic rituals are all based on the belief that they can change not just you and me, we're just in passing. Our masters want to change the universe. In the simplest possible terms, Satan worshippers want to destroy God. God's a little big for them to handle, but they can destroy God's work. This is not religion. I'm just using words that you and I both know. This is just history. But let's call it God because it's simpler to figure out. If they can destroy God's work, which would be you and me, they can destroy the universe. By destroying us, not our bodies, not our minds. They want to shatter our souls, who we really are, by destroying the essence of who each of us is. The Satan worshippers, our masters, believe that they can shatter the universe. See, destroying our cities, destroying our culture, destroying our economy, that's just part of the method. The goal of our masters is to destroy who we are, who you and I are, from the inside out. Because if you remember your physics, it's simple science. There's a thing called quantum entanglement that says that every piece of space in our universe is absolutely unique. But if you can recreate, say, space on the other side of the universe, you know for a fact that it has this specific dimensions, it has this specific frequency, it has, say, this specific telephone number. If you dial up that specific telephone number for that part of space on the other side of the universe and recreate those exact settings here in your living room, you can actually step through that doorway, that tunnel in the sky. And with a few footsteps, your own 2 feet walking forward, you will pass through that doorway, that tunnel in the sky. You will be instantly on the other side of the universe. That's basically quantum entanglement. It's not religion. It's not fantasy. It's not magic. It's physics. Quantum entanglement also means that if you hate someone, you give them power over you. Again, it's not religion, it's not morality, it's not culture, it's science. Quantum entanglement means that if you hate someone, you become the thing that you hate. Now, our masters know this. And our masters have told us over and over again, as they always do, because in black magic ritual, you actually have to get permission in advance from the people that you're going to hurt. And in black magic ritual, which is the basis of British Admiralty law, which is the basis of commercial law, which is the basis of the United States of America Incorporated, silence is acceptance. If your neighbor goes to the newspaper and publishes a legal notice that you, Bob Smith, are an avocado, it's silly and stupid, but bear with me. The guy actually spends $40, puts a legal notice in the local paper, as per the law, that his neighbor, you are Bob Smith is an avocado. Well, you, as Bob Smith, you have, I think, 2 weeks to place another notice, spend $40, and the paper says, no, I am not an avocado. But you think to yourself, I'm an American citizen. That's stupid. Why would anybody do that? And you ignore it. You don't say anything. Under the laws of the United States of America Incorporated, which are based on commercial law, which are based on British Admiralty law, which are based on black magic satanic law, your neighbor, the Satanist, has stated to the world that you are an avocado, and you didn't respond, therefore you must agree. Under the law, your neighbor can come over, chop you up, and put you in a salad, because you didn't disagree. Our masters have stated repeatedly that they want to reduce the population of this earth to 500 million souls, 500 million head of cattle. Right now there are 7 billion of us here. Our masters have stated in writing over and over and over again that they're going to kill 6.5 billion of us, which leaves, strangely enough, 500 million people left behind after the event, whatever the event is. Whether the dead sun, the dead brown dwarf star, passing between us and the sun flips us end for end, and we're all washed away in a flood. Just we don't have Noah handy, so, Whether it's pieces of rock falling out of the sky, melt the South Pole, which has an ice sheet over it that's bigger than North America and Europe combined, which means the water levels, if that sheet of ice on the South Pole melts, water levels will go up 300 feet. So depending on how fast it happens, you can walk or run, but there's no place to go. So let's say 500 million people survive somehow. Before the event, our masters are going to torture us as they're torturing us now. They're torturing us with poverty, loss of our jobs, loss of our homes. They've poisoned our bodies so we can't think. We have no history to draw upon because we don't know our history. We can barely read and write our own names. We live in fear of war and terrorism that they've created for us, our masters. They torture us, they rape our children, they murder our children, they terrify us. We're living homeless on the street and we're near starvation. And then the event shows up. Those 500 million souls that are left alive after the event, our masters want them to hate. So before the event arrives and does whatever damage it does, our masters are going to come forward and tell us who they are and what they've been doing to us. And we, of course, will automatically hate them. After the event, there'll be about 500 million people left. And those people, the hope is, our master's plan is, those 500 million human beings will hate our masters. And under the science of physics, under the understanding of quantum entanglement, those 500 million people will become the thing that they hate. And the universe will change forever. Satan will win. Yahweh will win. And God, Amalek, who was her mother, who was her girlfriend, who was her lover, will lose. And everything will be undone. The experiment will fail, the experiment being you, me, and the universe. Could mean that if this is a matrix sort of thing, you and I will not pass our exams. We'll wake up, we're still 19 years old, we're still at university, and our parents just wasted a lot of money for us to go to this special training school where in the afternoon, 3 hours we spend, we've lived 100 years inside of an artificial environment. And we failed. Our parents are going to be royally pissed at us. Which means we have to take the class over again. I'll kill myself before I take this class over again. And I'll make sure I'm damn dead. Or this could be a 3D holographic universe, a survival kit. Somebody took a picture of the real universe, stuck it into a box, reduced you and me to particles of light, stuck us into the box to keep us going, until the rescue ship that we're on gets us to a new world. Well, they'll create new bodies for us, and we'll go back and live in the real universe because something destroyed our home. I don't know. But in the holographic universe, it's just a rerun. You and I, we're reliving our favorite TV show over and over and over again, saying the same lines, getting the same jokes, the same laugh track is running. And after a couple hundred repeats of the same show, we can talk the show out in advance. That's probably where deja vu comes from. We've done this so many times. We're just saying the same lines over and over and over again. But still, I don't know. What I do know is that hate exists. I have seen it too many times, in too many different forms, wearing way too many faces. And I've seen the joy of hatred in the human population. I've seen the joy of hate, of hurting, in too many human faces. Sadly, in my case, it was mostly women. But it's how I grew up. I believe, since the women that I grew up with in my life were cruel and hated and hurt me, I believe that's what love was. So I guess in that particular sense, the CIA project was successful. These women only knew how to be cruel or to be hateful, and they enjoyed the sheer joy of meanness. And I've met other victims. None of us are survivors, certainly not me. I've met other victims, those who survived what the CIA, our masters, did to us. And frankly, we're all dead. Or we're just too confused, or just too stupid, or just too stubborn to admit that we're dead and just, lie down and start rotting. But all of these other victims, these artificial children that I've met, they could have been my own brothers and sisters. I mean, we all looked alike. We were all the same family. We were all the same genetic pattern. The same genetic material was used to make us. And please, before you roll your eyes and groan and turn away, you have to understand our masters have been creating artificial people since the 1930s. They do actually have the knowledge of all of the civilizations that happened before this event, going back hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years. You and I, as human beings, have been on this planet for 2.5 billion years. That's a lot of knowledge to amass. Today, our masters can grow super soldiers, what they call deltas, meat robots, programmed killing machines. They can grow full-grown men in 48 hours. Not just full-grown killing machines, incubated in machines. They don't need human wombs anymore. But these full-grown killing machines also have the complete memories, the complete RNA, the ribonucleic acid that holds memories, liquid memories from the original soldier that they were made from. And within 48 hours, these guys are grown, ready to fight, ready to die, ready to kill anything or anyone our masters want. Of course, it's very tricky, it's very expensive, and I'm guessing it's really hard to do. Otherwise, our cities would right now be overrun with deltas, with programmed meat robots today. So yes, way back when, lots of children, artificial children, were created in petri dishes in laboratories. And then when the correct black magic ritual days came along and the correct rituals were performed, the unborn natural children that were already growing inside of their mother's wombs were butchered. They were butchered alive while still in the wombs of their own mothers. And the artificial children who came from the petri dishes were embedded into the scraps of flesh and blood that were still left inside the mother's womb. And that's where we began. We were incubated. We were born into these pre-selected families. And these are the worst of the human race. It's part of the programming, part of the project, that whoever we were born into, whatever families we came into, they would torment us, hate us, abuse us. And it was all part of the CIA plan to learn how to hurt people more effectively. I realize now they were not breeding us as super soldiers, not specifically as slaves. Those were side effects. They were looking if somebody was, popped out of the cork well enough, they could use them to be a psychic super soldier, someone to fight their enemy. But the overall plan, I now realize, was to learn how to hurt people more effectively and on a global scale. One of their rejects once told me something. She told me that the reason she was studying psychology, she wanted to learn to hurt people more effectively. And that statement's been rattling around inside of my empty head now for a long time. But it finally dawned on me that is the goal of the CIA and our masters. They want to change the universe. And to change this universe, where you and I live, it starts with us. Not just on our world, but on every world in this universe. Which is why our masters' stated goal is perpetual war. They want to carry this war from our world out into the universe and against all of our older brothers and sisters who left the earth a very long time ago. They want this to be a universal war. They actually believe they can do it. Whether they can or not, I have no idea. But again, it's a belief. It's a religious belief. And you know as well as I do that arguing with someone their religion is a waste of time. But for me, the other victims, the other artificial children that I've met over the years, and I only met them in the United States, which tells me that those types of experiments were confined to that country at that time. These people could have been my brothers and sisters. I mean, I was the oldest brother. All the other artificial children I met were second, third, fourth generation experiments. Each produced a different reaction. Some were shorter, some were lighter, some were darker, some were much taller, some had deeper skin tones, but it was the faces and the abilities and the knowledge and the background were always the same. Of course, the key point was we were all placed with military families, families that we had nothing in common with, families that hated. They were the lowest form of street trash imaginable, the lowest form of life, the mean, the stupid, the cruel, the vicious, the mindless. Again, the heart and soul of the CIA. And the other thing is, none of these artificial children looked anything like the families we were placed with. And they were always Caucasian families, always white races. And I can pass as white, so again, more questions. Now, I personally have had the experience over and over again of people coming up to me that I know saying, "Hey, I saw you in Sacramento, California last week. I waved and you ignored me." Or, "Hey, I saw you in Colorado Springs, Colorado yesterday, and I saw you crossing the street. I yelled, but you ignored me." Or, "Hey, do you drive a Mustang convertible? Because I just saw you an hour ago at the Circle K market. You had just bought a six-pack of beer, had jumped into your convertible Mustang, and you drove away. I yelled, but you ignored me." I've even seen two photographs. One photograph I saw when I was, 17 or 18. It was on a travel brochure for a trip to Europe. And on this travel brochure was a photo of me running up the side of a hill in Kitzbühel, Austria, with a beautiful girl. The problem was it wasn't me. Just 2 years ago, in New Zealand, my German friend and his wife invited me over for Christmas dinner. They were very kind. And when I got there, my friend was very agitated. He was very nervous. His mother had just sent him a copy of their village yearbook. Apparently, in his little village back in Germany, every year the village gets together and all the families contribute articles and pictures. And he's very upset. He says, "I need to show you something." And he opens up the village yearbook and shows me a picture of me, myself, working in my vegetable garden back in his little small village in Germany. And he's very upset. And he says, "I don't understand. That's you. How could that be you? This picture was taken this year, and I know for a fact you haven't left New Zealand." We went to the same salsa dance classes together and hung out. He was a nice man. His sister, his wife was like a sister to me. She lovely people. So they knew for a fact I hadn't been out of New Zealand for the last year. And he was really upset. And he used to be a cop back in Germany. And I said, "Well, you're right, that's not me. And if I told you, if I tried to explain this to you, you'd be very unhappy." What this tells me is that the genetic materials our masters used to create artificial children was obviously used over and over and over again. And that those victims, they also outlived their programmed self-destruct dates. All of the CIA mind control, black magic ritual project children are programmed to kill ourselves at the age of 30. But these must have, defied their programming, outlived their expiration dates, and traveled far and wide, just the same as I did. I mean, I've had reports of myself while I was in California, Southern California, Los Angeles. I had reports from people that I was in Sacramento, California. I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was in Kitzbühel, Austria. I saw the picture. I saw the picture of me in a tiny village in Germany. And a friend of mine, when I was working in Nashville, Tennessee, came into the office late in the afternoon and said, "I just saw you at the Circle K. Are you driving a red Mustang convertible?" "I didn't know you drank beer." I said, "No, I haven't left the office. I'm renting a Kia." There was even another artificial child, another victim, while I was living in Southern California. So was he. A woman who knew him very well had been hired to fix up the guest house that I had been renting in South Pasadena, and she almost fainted when she saw me when she walked in the room, and the first thing she says, what are you doing here? Seems that the victim, that the artificial child she knew, was working the lights and the curtains down on Sunset Boulevard at the big theaters. She never did believe me that I wasn't him. And for some reason, I never had the urge to go see him. You would have thought I would say, really? Take me there. I want to meet this guy. Never occurred to me. Never, not once. I don't know why. But I think I do know or understand now why they created us, all these artificial children. The Reject gave it to me years ago, and it just sort of clicked in the other day. They wanted to learn how to hurt people, the human race, more effectively. And frankly, it's got to be too cost-intensive and time-consuming to torture one human being at a time. And so what they did is they experimented on us to learn how to torment not just hundreds, not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of millions of human beings more effectively and all at the same time. Our masters want to make certain that whoever survives the event will know who they are, what they have done to us. I'm guessing that our masters are about to do a full disclosure of all the atrocities they've committed against us, because I never could figure out why. Our masters were so bent on hurting us before the event, because the event obviously is going to kill most of us. So why bother with all the time and the trouble and the effort to hurt us now, when the event's going to wipe us out any day now anyway? Why bother? It's part of their plan. My guess is now our masters are going to come clean. They're going to address the human race and say, yes, we've been your masters for 8,000 years. Yes, we've been raping and torturing your children for the fun of it. We enjoy hurting you. We're now going to give you all your money back. So because we've given you all your money back, part of the agreement is you can't hurt us. I think that's going to generate so much hatred we could probably blow up the sun. But it will give the survivors, after the event, something to focus on. And they're going to focus all of that energy on hate. And once that is done, the experiment, the plan of our masters will be a success. Because our masters want us to hate them. Because by hating them, we will become them. We will be slaves of our own free will, bound to our masters by our own free will, by our own hatred. Not religion, physics. And because of our own free will, we hate them. Of our own free will, we bind ourselves to our masters. That hatred will change the universe forever. It's your choice. And it always has been. May you live as long as you wish. May you love as long as you live. For the 2012fad.com, this is Charlie Bluehawk. The 2012 Fad is brought to you by Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead, a series of 5 erotica horror novels about a fallen angel finding his way back to regain his own soul, and how the CIA war against the human race, their black magic, captures and traps him in the body of a mind-controlled slave designed to hunt down and to kill their god, their Satan.